This big surprise in the corruption trial of former House Speaker Mike Madigan, the once most powerful politician in the state of Illinois. The former House Speaker took the stand in his own defense today.
It is considered a risky move, one few defendants take. Our political reporter, Marianne Ahern, was in the courtroom today. She's here now with the latest. This was surprising to everyone.
It was. There was a race to the courtroom to be in the room. First of all, it was packed, including Mike Madigan's family, his daughter, former Attorney General Lisa Madigan, all in the front row. However, his wife not present. While we know Madigan as a power broker, today a much different image emerged as he related never heard before details of his early years. 82-year-old Mike Madigan telling the jury today he's a young 82 when he took the stand in his own trial facing 23 counts of bribery, wire fraud, and conspiracy. The decision to testify, a risky move, allows Madigan to speak directly to the jury, but also opens himself up to prosecutors' questions as well. Former federal prosecutor Ron Safer.
It is a huge risk reward to testify on your own behalf.
The first question from the defense: did people ask you for help? Madigan replied, when people asked me for help, if possible, I tried to help them. He was also asked, did you ever trade your public office for private gain, ever demand a thing of value in exchange for an official act, or ever accepted a thing of value for an official act? Madigan said no. It's very rare for a defendant to testify. Former Governor Rod Blagojevich did. Former Governor George Ryan and former Alderman Ed Burke did not.
His goal is to get the jury to know him, to, if not like him, at least empathize with him. If he connects with two people, then they can form a block in that jury that will prevent conviction. Even if he doesn't win acquittal, it stops a conviction.
Madigan, known for rarely speaking to the media or sharing much information about himself, today revealed his father had been an alcoholic. And when Madigan was asked if he grew up in a nurturing family, he said no. Quote, the word nurturing didn't exist. My parents never told me they loved me. They never embraced. Safer on if he would have advised Madigan to take the stand.
It is really difficult to get a white-collar defendant to an acquittal without having them look the jury in the eye and saying, I did not commit this crime.
It may be a few days before prosecutors begin their questioning, and that will likely be not quite as friendly.
You mentioned the race to get to the court. I mean, this is stunning. I mean, we haven't heard from Madigan like this before. Take me back to that moment he stepped onto the witness stand and started testifying in his own behalf. Well,
the room was, as I mentioned, the room was packed. However, he was very at ease, speaking directly to the jury. Not all of them, though, always are looking back at him. I was watching, trying to keep an eye on both. They're taking notes at times, a few of them, but he was very much, instead of just looking at his attorney, he is looking straight at the jury, talking to them, and using hands like I am.
And you've covered Madigan for years. What have you noticed about how he is handling the pressure? Sounds like he's handling it pretty well.
It seems to me, and this is my opinion, is that he is taking control of this trial, as he did the General Assembly. He is not just delivering practiced answers, and clearly, by rolling the dice, he feels he's the best person to make his own case.
And so we're going to be hearing more from him, especially in the cross-examination, and get more information about him maybe personally that we haven't really heard before.
Certainly. Hearing about his life as a young boy, that was something we had not heard.
We were thinking closing arguments this week, but this is going to push it back.
Yes, it's going to push it back to the end of the month.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you, Marianne. Appreciate it.
Now, former House Speaker Michael Madigan is back on the stand today at his corruption trial.
It was a really unexpected turn of events in a trial that's been going on for over 3 months now. Our Sandra Torres is joining us now live from the Dirksen Federal Building with more on what Madigan's been saying so far on the stand. Sandra.
That's right, Alex and Marion, and it's day 2 of Michael Madigan taking the stand. Right now, he is still answering questions from his own attorney, Dan Collins. That's what he's been doing all morning long. We do expect cross-examination to happen at some point today. Now, this morning, Madigan walked into the Dirksen Federal Building around 8:30, and then once court was in session at 9, his attorney, Dan Collins, began asking him about email communications detailing how his law law firm would seek out business. And then Attorney Collins asked Madigan about a recorded conversation that's been a key part of this case between him and former Alderman Danny Solis. This happened in 2017 regarding a property developer that Madigan wanted to be introduced to. And in the transcript, which was laid out today, we heard Solis talking about him implying, I think they understand how this works, you know, the quid pro quo, referring to the developer, to Madigan. Attorney Collins asked Madigan for his reaction to that comment. Madigan said that he met this with great concern, adding he would not be a part of a quid pro quo. Madigan then says that he told him, you should not be talking like that. You're just recommending our law firm. And Madigan says he told Solis that his only request was an introduction. Madigan added that Solis appeared to be apologetic after that comment, that he really wanted to say sorry for what he had said. Madigan, of course, will likely face cross-examination, and the majority of it will focus on that case, or that recording, I should say, with Solis at some point today. That's when things could turn. We will have updates for you during our afternoon newscasts. Reporting live from the Dirksen Federal Building, Sandra Torres, NBC5 News.
Sandra, thank you. For the second day, former House Speaker Mike Madigan testified in his bribery and corruption trial. Today, he got into more detail about his relationship with co-defendant Mike McClain. Charlie Wojciechowski was in the courtroom. He joins us now live from the Dirksen Federal Building. Charlie.
Well, Marion, Madigan says there was a complex relationship. Of course, there was a friendship and there was trust between the two. But he says he recognizes that Mike McClain was a lobbyist, and part of his responsibility as a lobbyist was to cultivate successful relationships with legislators like the former Speaker. With his trademark cap and a smile on his face, Mike Madigan arrived early this morning for his second day on the stand, waving to reporters on his way into the Dirksen Federal Building. Through his surprise decision to testify, his attorneys are hoping to paint a new picture for jurors of a dedicated public servant who had come to his position of power through hard work. Today, Madigan was questioned about his relationship with his former friend and co-defendant, Mike McClain, through whom prosecutors say the Speaker often funneled requests for help with jobs and other favors. Did you have a lot of contact with McClain over the years, his attorney Patrick Cotter asked. Yes, Madigan said. And did that friendship survive, Cotter pressed. It did until recently, Madigan replied quietly. Madigan also admitted that between 2011 and 2019, he may have asked McClain for help with finding work for as many as 10 to 20 people, including Eddie Acevedo and others. For any request you made to Mike McClain, did you agree to exchange any job at any company in exchange for you doing anything to benefit some client of Mike McClain's legislation, Cotter asked. The answer would be no, Madigan said. The hardest part of Madigan's testimony is not over. He must still face cross-examination from the prosecution, which will likely not be as friendly as the questioning from defense attorneys. That cross-examination set to get underway next week. One thing the judge has to decide beforehand, what is off limits as far as evidence goes and what can he be cross-examined about. The judge expected to offer his opinion on that on next week. The reason we're delayed here 2 days is because Carter's funeral falls on Thursday, and Friday is the day the judge uses to catch up on all of his other cases. So again, this trial resumes next week. Reporting live from the Federal Building, Charlie Wojciechowski, NBC5 News.
Charlie, thanks so much.